entire world, uh, we uh, we we uh, we categorize as the kingdom of God. Okay, but during those days in the Old Testament, Israel was the nation which was ruled by God. So the beginning of God's nation, God's people, the nation of Israel, and also that also we see in the first five books. Okay, now when we see all these things, that's the history of creation, okay, history of the universe, and even the nation of Israel, and the origin of sin and judgment. These all things are discussed or understood in relationship with Yahweh or God. Okay, God, we use it as a general term, but when we come to the term Yahweh, it's considered as the God who revealed to the mankind. Okay, God who has revealed as the living God. His name is revealed as Yahweh. Okay, so when we discuss about the Pentateuch, this is very important. What is the content or what it contains? This book, these five books contain God's revelation. God's revelation regarding the origin of mankind, the origin of universe, the creation, the life, the sin, judgment, and the nation of Israel. Okay, beginning of everything we see in these five books. And these things are understood or discussed in relationship with Yahweh. Okay, it's not a general explanation or a secular explanation of the origin of the world. It's not a secular explanation of the origin of mankind. I hope you understand what I say. Okay, it's not a secular explanation of the formation of the nation of Israel. Okay, that means it's not explaining a group of people with their own capacity and resources becoming into a revolting people and becoming and fighting against the oppressors, and they come out and form into a new nation and becoming a world power. No, even the formation of the people of Israel was discussed and seen and observed in connection or in relation with Yahweh, in relation with the Lord God Almighty. So that is very important when we discuss the first part of Pentateuch. And also, this first five books, or when we consider them together, the Pentateuch, five books. This first five books, this Pentateuch was considered as or it regarded as carrying the essential authority to the rest of the Bible, the rest of the biblical writings. Okay, the rest of the biblical writing means apart from Pentateuch, you have the historical books and you have the prophetical books, and the authority or the authenticity of these scriptures, these portions of the scriptures, the writings as well as the prophecies, the authority of these books is contained in the first part of the Old Testament, that is in the Old Testament. So that is in the Pentateuch. So that means if you don't have the Pentateuch, or if you exclude the Pentateuch, the authority itself of the Bible get cancelled. Okay? The Bible, the entire Bible, or the rest of the Bible is authoritative only when you accept the Pentateuch. Apart from Pentateuch, the authority stand cancelled. Is that okay? Is that clear with you?
Can you explain it again, sir?
See, the authority of all other books of the Bible, that means the prophetical books. When you talk about the prophecies, okay, for example, if you take the prophecy of Isaiah, it talks about the Israel and God's dealing with the people of Israel. And of course, in the time of the prophet, and also after prophetical point of view, prophecy. It is a prophecy. It's something talks about something is going to happen after some time, and even the book of Jeremiah, talking with God, discussing the way God deals with the people of Israel in at the time of the prophets, as well as in the days to come. So you take every prophetical books, it talks about God's relation with the people of Israel. Okay, but if you don't have this this Pentateuch, which talks about the origin of the people of Israel and how they are formed, and what was their relation with God, and why such a relation is required to be kept, why such a demand was upon the people of Israel to keep that relation live. This prophetical books are null and void. They don't hold any water. They don't have any content at all. Or what the prophetical book says, it's nothing. And even you take the historical books, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Kings and Chronicles. If you don't have the origin of the people of Israel and how they have formed, how the nation was formed, how they were brought out from the Egyptian slavery, and how they brought through the wilderness and brought into a new place, and how they were developed into a world power. And if those things are not there, the history is nothing. So the entire Bible, especially the Old Testament, the second and third part of the Old Testament, will have something authoritative and credible only when the Pentateuch is accepted with its full authority. If you say Pentateuch is not acceptable, the rest of the Bible you can't accept with its fullness, its real content. Okay, what is there in the second part, the history, and in the third part, the prophecies. The message of those books are authoritative only when the Pentateuch is authoritative. The authority of the other parts of the Bible is in the first 5 books. Is that okay? Yeah. So even the Jewish people, when they were in the exile, they had a place of worship, was known as synagogue. Okay. While they were in Babylonian captivity and Roman captivity, and when they were scattered to the different parts of the world, wherever they went, they had synagogue. Even we had one in Cochin and even Pune or Mumbai. We had even in, I think, in Kolkata also, we had some synagogues. And in those synagogues, mainly what they have read was these 5 books. Okay, scripture reading was an important part of the synagogue worship, and mainly what they have read was from the first 5 books of the Old Testament or from the Pentateuch. So that clearly tells us how much important was this first 5 books for them. Okay, this Pentateuch was that's I have explained you I had explained you this in last class. Penta means 5 and Chekos means it's a case which carries the papyrus roll. Okay, Pentateuch, Penta means 5, and Chekos, which means a case, okay, which carries the papyrus roll. And from that, this Pentateuch was derived, and okay. Now let us look into the authorship regarding when we discuss the Pentateuch. The important thing to discuss is its authorship. Okay, who wrote the Pentateuch? That's very important. Why we discuss this in the beginning? All the 5 books we are going to discuss are listed under this particular book, and traditionally the author for all these 5 books are considered to be a single person, especially Moses. So when we have a general discussion regarding this authorship of these 5 books, later on we don't have to spend much time for discussing the authorship of individual books. So that's why we are going to have a small discussion regarding the authorship of Pentateuch. Okay. Okay, what is your opinion, or what do you understand, or what do you think, or whom you think the author of the Pentateuch?
Moses.
Okay, that's a general view, general understanding about the authorship of Pentateuch. Generally, the orthodox view, let me put it in that way, the conservative view is that Moses is the author of the Pentateuch. But there are some disagreements. Okay? It's not fully accepted by the entire Christendom, or the full Christian scholarship do not accept this Mosaic authorship without any question. There are some scholars who question the Mosaic authorship. Okay, there are certain reasons for that. We will just look into it because we need to know why his authorship is questioned, and what's the general view about the authorship of Pentateuch. Okay. As we have discussed, okay, any one of you have any doubt on this Mosaic authorship? Any question, or do you have any arguments or any doubt while reading this book? Anything came into your mind questioning the authorship of Moses?
Now, just
Or
we just heard from our childhood and the Sunday school, and the Pentateuch it's written by Moses. That's all the picture in our mind. So we don't have anyone in our mind.
okay,
Mm.
that's good. Okay, let me ask in this way: anyone have come to you with a with questioning the questioning your view of Mosaic authorship? Have you met with anyone, or have you talked with anyone who question um, your view of Pentateuch authorship? No one?
No.
Okay. So that means all of you have a clear view about Mosaic authorship. You have no problem with that. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, the conservative idea, the conservative view of the authorship of this Pentateuch is very clear, and they say they claim is Moses, and Moses um, is the sole person who is in charge of the entire book. Okay. While there are different kinds, what's that? Okay, a different view also. Some people or some of um, these scholars who support this, even the Mosaic authorship, they have a different view regarding the involvement or role of Moses in writing of these books. Okay, one group or certain people, certain scholars, they say Moses is not the sole author of this book. Okay, of course, Moses' contribution is is well accepted. Moses is the major contributor to this Pentateuch, but he is not the sole writer of this book. That's what they say. Okay, is it clear? Okay, to explain that, or to explain their argument, they say it's not Pentateuch is not a book written by Moses by word by word. Okay? From Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through Deuteronomy chapter last verse, it is not something written by Moses word by word. Okay, that is their argument. But at the same time, some people believe, okay, it is fully and completely written by Moses and nobody else. Okay, but now the major part of this Old Testament scholars, they don't agree with this argument of writing Moses entirely, completely, and fully. They don't say. They say it's not. Okay. Now, one view is that this entire Pentateuch could be divided into four major portions or four major sections. Okay, or four major traditions. And these four major traditions are Yahwehist tradition, Elohist tradition, priestly tradition, and Deuteronomy tradition. Okay, the entire five books, the content of the five books, or the content of the whole Pentateuch, could be divided into four different traditions. And these four traditions are Yahwehist, Jehovah. So in scholarly discussions, they denote it as J, okay, J, capital J, represents this Yahweh's tradition. And then you have the Elohist tradition, which is represented by capital letter E, Elohist tradition. And then you have priestly tradition, P, capital letter P. And fourthly, you have D, Deuteronomist tradition. So what they conclude is the original documents of Pentateuch is from these four traditions. And when you put all these four traditions together, you get Pentateuch. Okay. And this Yahweh's tradition says a major portion or one portion of the entire Pentateuch is written by someone, is an anonymous person, name is not known, but the material could be identified from all the five books, the material or the content of the all five books. You could separate the Yahweh's tradition by the wordings, structure of the sentences, grammar, and usages. Okay. For all these four traditions, they follow this method. You following me? Okay. Now, they said, okay, you put the entire text together, you try to read it, and you try to synthesize it, you try to separate it, categorize it, and you could find certain materials with a common nature in usage of certain terms, usage of certain words, usage of certain sentences, okay, certain kind of grammatical structure, and even certain kinds of nature of the content. Okay, for Yahweh's tradition, the most important thing they found was to represent God, they use a term, or he, that person, the one who wrote that Yahweh's material, he used the word Yahweh. Okay. Throughout the entire Yahweh's tradition, they could find, instead of God, they use the term, or he used the term Yahweh, or for God, he used the term Yahweh. Okay. Not only that, in Yahweh's tradition, the mountain of God is termed as Sinai. Okay. And also, in some places, you find the mountain of God is Horeb. See the difference? In one place says the mountain of God is Sinai, and the other place says the mountain of God is Horeb. So these differences they sorted out, and they said this is because of this different tradition. Okay, this is because of this different authors, and they don't know who it is. That's why they call it tradition. Okay. The scholars, they couldn't identify the exact writer, so they say, okay, this is a tradition, and in that tradition, God is represented as Yahweh. So they call it Yahweh's tradition. Okay, so that is J, or Yahweh's tradition. And in the second one, Elohim, Elohis tradition. Instead of Yahweh, the term Elohim is used. Okay, God is represented by another term, Elohim. So that writer, instead of using Yahweh, everywhere, wherever he used the term God, he used the term Elohim, Elohim, Elohim. So such materials, such content, the scholars put together and said, they said, this comes under the Elohist tradition. This is something which is written by somebody who is, who with a different approach to the history. The other thing was written by somebody else who has a different way of looking into the things, and he says God is Yahweh. And this person called God is Elohim. And this Elohist tradition, the mother of God, is termed as Hore. So there are differences. So this is Yahweh's tradition and Elohist tradition. So in the book of Genesis, you could find the Yahweh's tradition as well as the Elohist tradition. And even in the book of Exodus, you could find both Yahweh's tradition and Elohist tradition. And now comes the third one, priestly tradition. You see book of Numbers and book of Numbers and then Leviticus. Okay, the Leviticus and Numbers. The common nature is the major portion of the content is discussing about the priestly family and their duties and their responsibilities. So the book of Numbers and especially in Leviticus, the main discussion is regarding the priest and his duty, their lifestyle, the way worship is performed, the way a sacrifice is offered, the way somebody is prepared for this priesthood, how somebody should be selected for this priesthood, and their attire, their dress code, how should they live, how should they behave. And so these materials, they put together and they call it priestly material or priestly tradition. Okay, so that is the third tradition we see. So the first tradition is Yahwehist. The second tradition is Elohist, and the third tradition is priestly. And the fourth tradition is Deuteronomy. And this Deuteronomy is considered to be a separate tradition. And when you look into, when you read the book of Kings and Chronicles, you come to the story of a king called Josiah. Towards the end of the kingdom of Israel, especially the southern kingdom, there was a king called Josiah who brought great revival into the land of Israel. During his time, preachers were sent to different parts of Israel and even to the northern kingdom to preach about the word of God. and great revival was brought in. And while he was examining the temple of that time, those days, the temple of Jerusalem, he asked the priest to clean up the temple and make it ready for worship. While they were cleaning up, they got a particular copy of the Word of God. And that is known as the Deuteronomy tradition. So the whole 5 books, when you put together, these 4 traditions are identified. And they say these 4 traditions are written by 4 different people. And surely it's not Moses. But the real source is Moses himself. Okay? The real source, the true source of this entire product, whether you take it Yahweh's, Elohim's tradition, priestly tradition, or even Deuteronomy tradition, the real source, the true source, the primary source is nothing else and no one else but Moses. Okay? But the one who put the things in order, things in a proper structure, is someone else. It may not be Moses. It's not Moses who sat and wrote from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through Deuteronomy last chapter, last verse. But his contribution is very important. He is considered as the primary source. Getting information from him or getting data from him, someone else put all these traditions, made up all these writings. And in a later on time, somebody else, someone else, some other scholars or some other scribes, they put all these 4 traditions together and we got this Pentateuch. That is the argument. Okay. This is one important approach towards the authorship of Pentateuch. Is that clear? You want me to explain again?
Yes, sir.
Sorry?
It's clear, sir. It's clear.
Sorry? It's clear. Okay, okay, yeah. Now, as I told you before, the conservative biblical scholarship, okay, the conservative scholars, they have no problem accepting the Mosaic authorship. Of course, they accept or they acknowledge the issues regarding Mosaic authorship. There are certain things we can't explain. But if you say, okay, Moses is the person who wrote the entire Pentateuch, there are some problems. See, when you read Deuteronomy last chapter, last verse, last chapter, from verse 1 onwards, you see it talks about Moses' death and even incidents or circumstances after his death. It is not possible at all for Moses to write something which happened after his death. And not only that, we have certain things in different parts of this this Pentateuch, which could not have been of that time, or something which is something plainly, directly we could understand that it is written somewhere after some time. So such materials are there in this Pentateuch, and that's the reason we doubt the Mosaic authorship. Okay? We doubt in the sense we have We have no doubt about the contribution of Moses, but we don't have to cling on to the argument that it was written by Moses by word. Okay, it's not that. Okay, so the conservative biblical scholarship, conservative scholars, they have no problem in accepting Mosaic authorship, but they acknowledge the issues associated with Mosaic authorship. Okay, and to solve that, they hold this view that it could have been written by somebody else, as we have discussed, as Jehovah's, Yahwehist or Elohist or priestly or Deuteronomy traditions, but the sole and primary source for these books, primary source for these traditions are Moses, and his role cannot be negated. Okay, that's what their argument. But at the same time, these liberal scholars, they try to reject this Mosaic authorship. Okay, so as we study, we don't have any problem to accept Mosaic. Okay. Let me put it in this way. I don't have any problem to accept Mosaic authorship. Okay, because I simply understand that, okay, it is quite natural that Moses, being an important person of those days, he could have written the important things, important incidents in his own way. He might have kept as a note. Okay, and after Moses' time, someone else could have gathered the information, and they put this information in a proper way, arranged in the order of a book, and brought out the entire Pentateuch. I have no problem to accept that. While I accept that, I don't have problem to accept the Mosaic authorship, because he is the sole reason. He is the primary source. He had all this information. Of course, somebody else later on could have added something and put them, arranged them, and brought them into a format of book. And while he was doing that, he could have added his own words in that. So I have no problem for that. Okay, so Mosaic authorship is, for me, with all its reason, valid. Okay, now, if you, sorry,
yeah, question. Okay,
please.
sorry. So it is correct, like the Deuteronomy 34th that says about the Moses' death. So it should have been written by someone else. So is the scholar, are they putting forward any name, like who wrote
No.
after Moses?
No. Okay, only one chance it could have been written by Joshua. That's a possibility, but such names have not been put forward by the scholarship. That's why they have given this 4 traditions: Yahwehist, Elohist, and they don't have name for all these traditions. Who wrote this Yahwehist material? They don't have any name. Even the Elohist tradition, they don't have anyone's name to point out. The priestly material, okay, they don't give any name as the sole author. Even Deuteronomy is also a person's name is not given. So they don't have any particular person to point out, but they say it is a contribution of more than one person. That means not only Moses, at least 4 other people have contributed to this. But the primary source is Moses himself. Yeah.
But it should have been at least 4 people involved in this, like a whole 5 books. So because then, as you said, the styles are different, the grammar, sentences, or the usages of words. So it should have been at least four people included or involved, to rearrange or organize these books, I believe.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to discuss. We were trying to explain.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not the product of the hard work or hard labor of a single person.
Okay.
Okay,
Got
when
it.
we discuss the entire material, we could see differences. Okay,
Yeah.
if a person, some person, so you see, for example, you take the book of Romans. You don't have any problem from Romans 1 chapter to the last verse. You don't have any problem to see the unity of material or style. Okay, usages are the same. In chapter 1, you see the usage of a particular person, and in the last chapter, you see the same structure or same way, same method of usage of words you can see. So you have no problem with that. But when we look into the book of Genesis, in that Genesis itself, you could see the differences. And in Exodus also, you could see the differences. And in other books also, you could see the differences. Only the thing without a difference you could see as a unit, as a single unit, is only the Deuteronomy. From Deuteronomy, from chapter 1 through the last thing, you could see as a single piece. That's what the scholars claim. Okay, so all other four books, you could see, or you can see that it's a mixture. Okay, style is being different, words, usage, grammar, and everything is being different, and because of that, the conclusion is this could have been, this could have been a contribution of more than one person. May not be together. They may not be in same time. In different times, they contributed to this particular book. They wrote their own portion, and at last somebody else, may not be a person of all these four. A different person could have put all these together, and we got this Pentateuch. Okay. Now, for this Mosaic authorship, when we say Moses is the major source or the primary source, there should be some reasons for that. Okay, simply we can't just put a claim and say, okay, Moses is the primary source, so it is. We can't say so. There should be some reasons. Let us look into those reasons. First of all, I just want to give you four reasons which make the scholars believe Moses could have been the primary source. There are many statements in Pentateuch and in other the rest of the Old Testament and also in New Testament regarding the writing activity of Moses. You read throughout the Pentateuch, and you read throughout the entire Bible, not only in Pentateuch, the entire Bible. You see many evidences. You come across many evidences of Moses writing something. Okay, we will see that a little bit that in a little detail later. Okay, the first point is Moses' writing activity is very much evident from the Old Testament, New Testament, and also in Pentateuch. Okay. The second point is, see, when we read from the book of Genesis to Deuteronomy, you see a variety of subjects is being discussed. Different incidents and different incidents of different time, not even a time difference of maybe months or years, of hundreds of years of differences we could find from Genesis till Deuteronomy. But the materials which you start from Genesis 1 through Deuteronomy, you could see a unity of narration, explanation, even the content or continuity, you can say. Okay, see, you take Genesis, starts with the beginning of mankind. Slowly it slips into Abraham. But you can very well clearly, you can draw the line from Adam to Abraham without any difficulty. Okay. You don't have any problem when, if you read for the first time, if you read the Bible, the Old Testament, if you read for the first time, suppose you are not a Christian, you don't have any connection with Christianity, and you happen to read the book of Genesis, you will have no problem to draw the clear line from Genesis chapter 1 through through Abraham, without any diversion, without any missing. You very clearly led to Abraham from chapter 1. So that continuity is there. And from there, you go to the book of Exodus, the formation of the people of Israel. Still, you can draw that line very neatly. You will not have any problem in understanding the chronology, or may not be the time frame, but the arrangement of material. You will not have any difficulty to find. You will not have any difficulty to understand. Do you have any problem? If you have read through any time, did you have any problem in understanding or connecting the things from Genesis 1 through even at least Genesis last chapter? I don't think a serious learner will not have any issue there. Okay, you can find a unity of the arrangement of all these materials. And even when you come to the book of Exodus, you can find it as a continuation of Genesis. And move to Numbers or Leviticus, still you can find that continuity. Okay, so the unity of and this continuity and unity should be understood in the context of the diversity of the material which is being discussed. In Genesis, first discussion is about the creation. And then we come to the second part, you see a different kind of explanation or different kind of thing, discussion is something about a person who is coming, a person as a family who comes into a special relation with God. That means Abraham and God's relation and their tie-up, their personal relationship. and development of that relationship. That's what that's what you see in the second part. The first part, you see the creation and the related things. See, in a first look, you may think, okay, there could have been a problem of connecting these two. First thing is something about the origin of the world, origin of the universe. And the second thing is about a person. How to connect these two. But without any difficulty, you can connect. Okay. And even that, okay, it's okay, fine. That person and he developed into a particular, okay, a clan or a particular tribe. That's fine. But when you come to the book of Exodus, you see a nation. And you may have a problem how to connect this nation with this people. Sorry, how to connect this nation, how to connect this nation with this particular clan or particular tribe. But you don't have any problem to slip through that that transition period and get to know the relation or connection between this clan or this tribe of Abraham, the clan of Abraham, and to the nation of Israel. So throughout this book, you will not have any problem. And when you come to the Numbers and Leviticus, a very different subject is being discussed. Right? There, the full discussion is about worship, sacrifice, and the rest of the things. Do you have any problem to connect those materials with the book of Genesis? No?
Sometimes.
You? Sorry?
Sometimes won't.
Sometimes you have?
No.
Yeah. See, we can't have a problem connecting the book of Numbers or the material of the book of Numbers to this book of Genesis. You have worship there, sacrifice, even in the book of Genesis, in different, okay, it's not quite often, but you find. Okay, but when you come to the book of Numbers, there you see a clear explanation of those that worship and sacrifice and all. You can connect both very simply, very easily you can connect. So this diversity of subject is, of course, is there, but the connectivity is very clear. The material is very well connected. So this connectivity and unity talks about a single person and contribution of a single person behind the entire project. Are you okay? Is that clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's the second point. And the third point is from the people of Israel. Okay, of course, when we sit and try to study the authorship or who could have been the writer of this particular book, the single possibility come to our mind is Moses. You know why? Of course, okay, you just leave the entire book of Genesis. Exodus, Leviticus and Numbers. When we come to that three books, or even including this Deuteronomy, and you sit and write, you sit and read the entire book, and you're asked to identify the writer. What is in your mind, or what will be in your mind, or what is your idea about the author and why? It's a question. You are asked to read the book of book of Exodus, Leviticus and Numbers, and you are asked to give a suggestion about the author. What will be your suggestion? Or what will be your opinion?
From my viewpoint, the character Moses, before Moses was born, like how he was born, how he was protected, and what the Pharaoh said, how to destroy the baby boy. The journey from the Moses, from the character from the first, his whole life is mentioned from there. So the particular focus point is on Moses. Maybe I think like that.
Okay, of course, the focus is major, it's mainly on Moses, and and as you said, Moses. See, my opinion of if your opinion is if it is Moses is okay, but more than the focus, when you read the entire Exodus, Numbers, and Leviticus, you can't find somebody else from among the people of Israel who could write these, because the entire people of Israel, they live as slaves. They are spending their life as mere slaves and living in a foreign country as slaves. They never had an opportunity to develop their knowledge and their skills, even writing and knowing skills and learning skills. They never got an opportunity. That's what I think. But in the case of Moses, it's not like that. Moses got the opportunity to be trained in that particular civilization of that time, the Egyptian civilization. He could read and write. Okay, he was very well versed in the culture, in the educational system of those days. He got very good training from the place where he could live. He was adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh, and he got the training enough to be a good author. So in the entire people of Israel, we can't find anyone else other than Moses who could sit and write the whole thing. We don't have any other name. Even I don't think the Joshua or Caleb or somebody else of those days. There are many clan leaders and tribal leaders were there, and their names are included in the book. But none of them were capable of doing these important things. And simply we can find, we can point, we can figure out this man is the sole reason. This man is the primary source. We have no problem in pointing out the author as Moses, because he got very very good training, very good education of that time, especially in the entire education system of Egyptian civilization. He could train himself in that. So because of that, we have no problem in accepting Mosaic authorship. Okay, and one more thing regarding the authorship of Moses, or to consider Moses as the primary source. I think, and the scholars put it in this way, that you can't find somebody else other than Moses who witnessed each and every important times of the people of Israel from their journey from Egypt till Jordan. Okay, at the time of covenant, Moses was present there. Okay, when they got the model of tabernacle, it was given to Moses. When they first erected the tabernacle, Moses was there. When they went for the first wall, Moses was there. And even before, when they came in front of the Red Sea, Moses was there. And every important occasions of the formation of the people of Israel, or the nation of Israel, let me say the nation of Israel. Okay, every important point of times of the formation of this people, the nation of Israel, Moses was there. So Moses is the right person to explain those things in detail, and nobody else have this amount of first-hand information other than Moses. Okay, of course, even Aaron was there, but how he came to know about things? Moses went to God, discussed with God, and he comes back and talks with Aaron and say, okay, this is what God said. So what Aaron has is second-hand information. The first-hand information is with the first information, or the primary information was delivered to Moses. And Moses is the primary witness. And not only in one or two occasions, every important occasions of the initial years of the nation of Israel, Moses was the first person who was present over there. So even he had the right to record the events, being the first one to know, being the first one. Even the Ten Commandments, it is Moses who got it first, and he received it and handed it over to the people of Israel. Okay, and every laws, even the worship laws, the laws about tabernacle, and all these things we see received by Moses. The primary receptor was Moses, and he received it, he recorded it, and because of that, we can simply say Moses is the primary source of the entire events, entire things in this book of Pentateuch. Okay, is these things clear? You want me to explain more? I try my level best to make it simple, and I hope this is simple. I hope you understand. Okay, so let us discuss the first point a little bit in details. The first point, what I shared with you is that Moses. Yeah, what was my first point? I gave to you that okay, throughout the Old Testament, New Testament, and even the Pentateuch, there are many examples where Moses' activity of writing is very much recorded. Okay, many examples are there in the Bible, even in the Pentateuch itself. When you read Exodus 17:14, of course, Genesis is something which is which is something which happened many years before Moses. Okay, so from Exodus onwards, we very clearly says Moses time to time dealing with God or time to time talk with God is recorded. So there we clearly see command or direction from God. God directs Moses to write. This Exodus 17:14 is an example. Exodus 17:14, 24:4. Exodus 24, chapter 24, verse 4. And Numbers 33, verse 1 and 2. Okay. Even Deuteronomy 31, verse 9. Deuteronomy 31, verse 9. All these verses says Moses was asked to write. Moses was directed by God to write. Okay. Can you somebody please read Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 24? Deuteronomy 31, verse 24.
And it came to pass when Moses had made an end of writing the word of this law in a book until they were finished.
Yeah, that very clearly says Moses write the words of this covenant, this words of this law in a book. Okay, of course, book, not in the sense we have now. It was scrolls. But anyway, Moses was writing. Moses was directed to write. That's what we see in the in the Pentateuch itself. Okay, not only in Pentateuch, in some other books, the other books of the Old Testament, you see the same thing, or you see the testimony of Moses writing. Okay, Joshua chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. Can you read Joshua 1, 7 and 8?
Only be strong. Chapter 1, 7, right?
Yeah, chapter 1, verse 7 and 8.
Okay. So only be strong and very courageous. Be careful to do according to all the law which Moses, my servant, commanded you. Do
Yeah,
not
see,
turn.
see, there God himself talks to Joshua and says, the words which my servant Moses talked to you. So the authorship or the ownership is ascribed to Moses by God himself. Okay, and even Joshua 23 verse 6. Joshua 23 verse 6.
be very firm, then to keep and do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses.
See, there it says, all what is written in the book of the law of Moses. See, there also we see Moses is termed as the author or the one who wrote the law. Okay, not only that, we have many other examples of First Kings chapter 2 verse 3, and even Second Kings 14 verse 5 and 6, and Second Kings even 18 verse 6, 23 2, and these all verses talks about the authorship of Moses, and even Chronicles 25 4, Nehemiah 13 1, Ezra 6 18, and these verses very clearly talks about the Mosaic authorship. Okay, so not only in Pentateuch, but also the other books of the Old Testament, you see testimony or witnesses to the Mosaic authorship. Or those days, the Jewish people, the Jewish religious system was very clearly holding the view, very firmly holding the view that the book of Pentateuch is written by Moses. They never had a doubt for that. Okay, let us see what's about in New Testament. Okay, and Mark 12:26. Mark 12:26. Gospel of Mark 12:26. Please read.
But regarding the fact that the dead rise again, have you not read in the book of Moses, in the passages about the burning bush?
Okay, see, whose words are these?
Jesus.
Jesus. Jesus himself affirmed something written in the Pentateuch as of Moses. So Jesus accepted and approved the Mosaic authorship. Jesus never had a problem to accept Moses as the author of the Pentateuch. Okay, there are many other examples in John chapter 1 verse 17, 5 verse 46 through 47, then 7 verse John chapter 7 verse 19, and many other verses. You see Jesus himself accept or acknowledge the Mosaic authorship. Not only that, in Acts chapter 2 you read Peter acknowledging the Mosaic authorship. Okay, and in second Corinthians chapter 3 verse 15, Paul refers it as of Moses, and in Romans chapter 10 verse 5, even there Paul says it's written by Moses. So the New Testament scholars, New Testament writers, not only Jesus but all other writers of the New Testament, they considered or they accepted the Old Testament, the scripture, the Pentateuch was written by Moses. They never had a problem. Okay, and okay, I think that's clear. Is that clear?
It's clear.
Okay. Now about the unity of the material and composition of the material, we have already explained. So I'm not going to spend much time on that. Okay, so that continuity and unity you can find in the nature of the story, in the style of the story, in the style of the narrative, and even the selection and its structure. In everything, you can see that continuity and unity. Even in grammatical structure, you can see that. So, based on this, we come to the conclusion that it's Moses, and Moses is the important source of the entire Pentateuch. Okay, I think you don't have any problem for that. Is that fine?
Yeah, fine. All good.
Okay, next we have the date and chronology of Pentateuch. That also we have to just discuss in little bit detail. But today I think we don't have much time to discuss. We have only 5 or 6 minutes left. So I'm not going to start this topic. It is date and chronology of Pentateuch. And while we discuss the chronology of Pentateuch, we divide it mainly into two. We are going to discuss the Genesis chronology, and then from Exodus to Deuteronomy. In 2 levels we will be discussing, and in Genesis we will be again dividing it into 2. The first one is from chapter 1 to 11, and then 12 to the rest. Okay, so this will be our next discussion. In our next class we'll be discussing this, and please read these books. Okay, Old Testament, especially the first 5 books, try to read and try to get some idea, okay, about the chronology and timings and all. Okay, is that okay? Is that fine?
It's fine. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. If you don't have a question, we will close with a word of prayer. Okay, your silence says there's no much questions. So if you have any question, okay, no problem. Next class also you can ask. If you have any doubt or if anything is not clear, which we have discussed in this class, you can ask in the next class also, no problem. So let us close with a word of prayer. Let me request Brother Roshan to pray and conclude this session.
Hallelujah. സ്വതന്ത്രം ചെയ്യുന്നു വചനം പഠിക്കാൻ ഞങ്ങൾ സഹായിച്ചു സ്വതന്ത്രം ചെയ്യുന്നു അതിൽ ഞങ്ങളെ പഠിക്കുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ ലഭിച്ചോളുന്നു വചനത്തിന്റെ മർമ്മമാണ് ഞങ്ങളെ വെളിപ്പെടുത്തിത്തരാനായിട്ട് വരുത്തുമാറാണ് മനസ്സിലാക്കാനോ അതിലാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഗ്രഹിക്കാനുള്ള തരുമാറാണ് മറിച്ചിട്ട് ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും ഞങ്ങളുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ലഭിച്ചോളുന്നു ദൈവസാന്നിധ്യം ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാം മറിച്ചോളുമാറാണ് അതിലെ വചനം പഠിക്കാൻ ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഒരുപോലെ സഹായിച്ചാട്ട് അതിലെ തീരുമാനം വരുത്തുമാറാണ് വേണ്ട സഹായകരായ കുട്ടികൾക്ക് സഹായിക്കുന്ന ഞങ്ങളെ പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു അതിലെ എല്ലാ ഫാക്കൽറ്റീസിനായിട്ട് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു എല്ലാ അനുഗ്രഹമായി തീരെ വരുത്തുമാറാണ് സകലനാമം അങ്ങനെ നാം പ്രാർത്ഥന പ്രാർത്ഥന അയക്കണേ.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor.
God willing, we meet in the next class.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.